Hey guys, it's your boy Red-Eyes out here with my first ever Yu-Gi-Oh video. And I thought, what better way to do a Yu-Gi-Oh video than doing a deck profile? So I hope the theme, is pretty apparent to the deck that I will be showcasing. I recently went undefeated with it at my locals at Top Deck Keep. You guys should come check it out. It's pretty cool. Either way, here is my Primite Full Metal Red-Eyes deck profile. I have a little Joey Wheeler token here for the field center that I like to use. But we're gonna move Joey to the side to show off the deck. So, this profile recently was undefeated at my recent locals. I went 4-0, getting second place, unfortunately, not first. I was down paired a little bit, so that might, attest to the skill level of the deck. But either way, I think it still kicked ass. Clearly, it went undefeated. To start off the deck, I guess we have the main meat and potatoes himself. We have Red-Eyes Full Metal Black Dragon. Red-Eyes Black Full Metal Dragon. He is level 8 machine monster, dark. The main monster of the deck, I like to say. I got him out in basically every game I played. He is a beast, an Omni Negate and a burn. Plays well into the last game at a time. Big 3,400 body. Realistically, it was really tough for opponents to out this card, especially when paired with a card later in the deck. But either way, this card is pretty good. I think it's Dragoon. I think it's a better Dragoon in some cases, even though Dragoon did win me a lot of duels. Spoiler alert. But we have Full Metal. Then we have 2 copies of the Metal Illusionist. I know some decks, especially for the Metalmorph package, run 3. I run 2. I think it is a pretty solid card, but there are better starters in the deck you want to run. This card is a decent 2 of. I have most of my main, starters and extenders at 2 of, making this card pretty solid. Normal summoning it allows you to basically make it into any. Normal summoning it gets you max Metalmorph straight from the deck. Also, this card can get you max Metalmorph by you can set max Metalmorph from deck, which dodges Ash and Droll, just by setting it into deck. But this card, you basically set it from deck by normal summoning it, and then once per turn, you may be able to turn it into any type of monster. So it's a spellcaster, you can turn it into a dragon, which is what's used to summon out this guy usually, or a fiend, which can summon out the Metal Zoa, which I don't use, unfortunately. But and at the end of the opponent's phase, you can turn this into you can have it gain 4 levels to make it a level 5. Honestly, really solid starter for the deck, pretty good. Another starter that was my Ash bait, basically, was Incoming Machine. I run it at 2. It is a very amazing card. Basically, it's a non-once per turn. You can search for a Metalmorph card, and then once per turn, you may switch all opponents' cards to attack position. That effect didn't really come into play much in the local, but the first effect really did. It was the best Ash bait I think I had in the entire deck. It does lose the Droll, unfortunately. If you add something else and then use this, and you get Drolled, you're shit out of luck, unfortunately. But it is pretty good. The fact that it's not once per turn is honestly pretty solid for me. And the main, meat and potatoes, or the main combo piece of the deck, at least for the Metalmorph version, is its max Metalmorph itself. It is the way to get out the big guy by attributing a level 5 or higher dragon, which you make into with this guy sometimes. It gives Dragoon, pseudo Dragoon protection. Unfortunately, because Bandit Keith's Metal Zoa was stopped by Trap Hole in the anime, it does lose the traps, which came into play when my big guy got impermed on an Omni Negate. But I ended up winning that game anyway, so it worked out. But yeah, so max Metalmorph, pretty solid. I cannot wait for the Metal Flame Swordsman. I will be probably running that as well when I make that profile. But either way, that is a deck for another day. Going on to the Red-Eye stuff, we have, of course, 2 copies of Red-Eyes Black Dragon. You use this a lot in the deck, especially for a different engine than I have in the deck, which I mentioned previously. But this card is you use this so much, and you can recycle it so well with certain cards in the deck that it basically just never leaves the graveyard. Well, it always leaves the graveyard and comes back to your field, or sometimes even not really hand, but it always comes back to the field. It always comes back. But I run 2 copies of him just because 3 is a little too bricky, especially since I run 1 copy of Dark Magician for the Dragoon play. These 3 are your main normal monsters of the deck that run the whole Primite engine later on, that I will showcase. Speaking of Dragoon, I run, let me move Joey a little more. I run 1 of Red-Eyes Insight and 1 of Red-Eyes Fusion. This basically just gets you what you need for, it's a good scramble card. Especially I've come into so many plays where I literally was going to lose, and then I drew this, and then I won because they didn't have the Ash. Dragoon is a hell of a card to out. Speaking of, we have the other target for Max Metalmorph. We have 2 copies of Red-Eyes Black Meteor Dragon. Utilizing the normal monsters in the deck, you are able to basically get this guy out for free as level 7, which is able to be used for Max Metalmorph. It's a very solid combo piece, great extender, and honestly is really good in the graveyard because you can get, if you banish him from grave, you get this from grave. So you can get yourself another fusion monster, Dragoon usually. Usually it's not Dragoon because I only run 1 of the Dark Magicians, but a better way to run that could be running a different card. Or, well, another Dark Magician, or cards that can get back my Dark Magician. At the moment, I am pretty new, so I honestly I'm blanking on a card for that. The bread and butter of the whole Dragon Link version of the deck, we have ourselves Black Metal Dragon, quite possibly the best normal summon of the deck, because this gets you this easily every time. You summon him. If it comes uninterrupted, you get basically your full Metamorph combo. This is the best normal summon of the deck. It does, any Yu-Gi-Oh player will know what Black Metal Dragon does. When it's sent to grave, you get to non-once per turn, search for a Red-Eyes card or monster. And usually the first search of this deck is going to be Darkness Metal Dragon. This card is incredibly good. Before, even after the errata, it's still pretty good. Sorry for the low rarity. But, I mean, again, any player who knows Yu-Gi-Oh! And knows dragons will know what this card does. It is a staple to dragon decks. Being able to grab a dragon, you are able to basically summon this guy out if you have Striker Dragon on the field, and, you get to play ball. It's a very solid card. Speaking of, we're playing Dragon Links, I might as well show off the bestial package I run. I run 1 Druisworm, I run 1 Magnemite, and I don't own Bestial Lobelion, but I did pull this right before the local, and it was Tamias, and he is a light dragon, so he is the Bestial Lobelion for now. Just there. Bestial Lobelion. And of course, you run the 1 of Reign of Regained. I want to run more of these 2, but I don't have room in the deck, and honestly, it didn't really come up. I never saw this, and I never used him. So, I mean, these guys came up a lot, but these 2 really didn't. Which is fine. I mean, they didn't really... The duels, they wouldn't have given really much to the duel except for a draw, but I kept drawing so cracked, and with how consistent the deck is, even with the 3 bricks, it really just worked out. Continuing on, we have, that is the end of my bestial package. We are moving on to the Primite package. So I run 2 of the Primite Imperial Dragon. This guy, holy moly, dude. One of the best cards, I think, to come out of Rhoda. It is such a good card. Basically, Primite Imperial Dragon says you can tribute a normal monster as a quick effect. So as a quick, tribute a normal monster. Then you can negate all monsters on the field once this card is tribute summoned. And then banish all cards based off attributes in your graveyard of normal monsters. And we, of course, on the start, we have only Darks, as we have Red-Eyes and Dark Magician. But this effect will come into play later with other cards that show up in the deck. But this guy, honestly, really good. The whole Primate engine runs on this guy, and you're able to get out your normals so easily that you're always, if you have this guy in hand, usually able to get him out. He is a solid interaction. A lot of decks didn't really have an out to his interactions, which won me the game a lot. The second craziest card, and probably one of the only cards I run at 3 in this deck, is the Primite Lordly Load. This card is insanely good. It is the continuous spell. Basically, it says, once per turn, when activated, when this card is activated, you can search for any Primite card. Usually you are searching this guy, but if you already have him, you can search other cards in the deck that are Primite. Then you can once per turn declare a name, special summon a normal monster from your deck, graveyard, or hand of that name. So that's how you're able to really get out your normal monsters pretty easily, and this card is just really pretty and really amazing. It is such a good card. Being continuous is pretty... It came up to a point where Ogre was our worst nightmare. Ogre and Cosmic Cyclone was a good out to this card, but honestly, just a solid card, incredibly good card. It was really hard to out this card. When this card got to get moving, I usually won that duel. I run 2 copies of the Primite Roar. It is another way to get out your normals. Pay 2,000 life points, and you're able to special summon 1 normal monster. And if your opponent oh my god, the glare. If your opponent normal summons, you are able to basically banish their monster on summon, so they don't even get to summon the monster. It's kind of like a solemn judgment or a trap hole, I want to say, where you summon, but it's on target. So they normal summon the monster, and then you basically just banish it before it's even hit the field. So it doesn't get its summon effect. Primite Roar, pretty good. Honestly, result. And this is what I like to call Imperm on Crack. We have Primite Drill Beam. It is an incredibly powerful card. Basically, if you control either this guy or a normal monster, or if you have a normal monster or this guy or any Primite card in hand, you can target 1 card on the field, or 1 face-up card on the field, negate its effects, then banish it. Crazy. This came up so much. And if you have this guy on the field, you can set this directly from grave. It is pretty good. I run it at 1. Just because running it at 2, if you draw 2 of it, you're basically screwed, and you can search it pretty easily off of this guy. This is usually what you're searching off this, off the Primite Lordly Load, but Drill Beam is incredibly powerful. It came into play so many times where I just ended the duel just because of this. Like, geez, it was pretty great. Sorry for the glare, guys. Now time for the non-engine. I'm running 1 Super Polymerization. If I had more, I would run more, but I only own the 1. I'm running 1 Call by the Grave, and I'm running another card. The only other card I'm running at 3 is Crossout Designator, a really powerful card. I am a stickler for 3 Crossout, especially because of Fusion. If you don't have the Crossout, Fusion is such a vulnerable card, being able to, yes, you summon from deck, but then you basically just make yourself super vulnerable, because then you can't summon. Anyone who plays Red-Eyes Fusion knows. Anyone who's dueled against Red-Eyes Fusion knows how satisfying it is to Ash a Red-Eyes Fusion. But Crossout basically helps me not get, butt fucked. This card really does help. I am a stickler for running Crossout at 3. I think it is a fantastic card. Now, to finish up the deck, we have the hand traps. I have 2 Ash Blossom, 2 Droll, and 2 Infinite Impermanence. These hand traps, it's a pretty solid hand trap lineup. I think they're pretty good. It's basically, I think, the most used hand traps and the most useful, at least from my locals. I deal with a lot of adding decks, so Droll's pretty good, Imperm's pretty solid, and the 2 Ash Blossom, I mean, everything adds basically from deck. Imperm is basically just also, a cross-out target, but also very useful for stopping some plays, especially if I get the set ahead of time. Yeah, overall, that is the main deck. Pretty solid deck list, I think. I mean, you guys can say. I think it's pretty solid just because I went undefeated with it, but overall, it is a very, I think, consistent deck list. It runs 6 hand traps, which I think is just enough. You don't need more than 6, really, when it comes to, utilizing this deck. You're mostly focusing on utilizing your main monsters rather than your hand traps. And if you draw a hand trap, it's just oh, great. But I've come to so many duels where like I'm sitting there and I'm just like, damn, I only have a hand of hand traps. Like I used to play a pretty, I thought it was pretty good, but it was Flame Swordsman Infernobles, which I will probably make a deck list video on that too. I love Flame Swordsman. I love Joey Wheeler, obviously, so of course I would love the Flame Swordsman. But I did run that deck as well, and it was I think I want to say, I didn't run too many hand traps, but I remember the worst hand I possibly had was Ash Blossom, I think 2 cross out, and then I had like 2 Droll, and I was like, wow, I cannot play, which could happen in this deck too. But overall, solid list. You usually don't brick with this. You get a pretty decent, way of getting out all your stuff, and it really helps. Now let's move on to the extra deck. Of course, I said it so many times, but the man of the hour, the star of the show is obviously Red-Eyes Dark Dragoon. It is the most powerful card probably in the deck when it comes to like extra deck monsters. It is an incredibly powerful card. A Tower Omni-Negate is pretty good, especially when they can't out it. A lot of the decks I dueled couldn't defeat a non-targetable, non-destructive monster that can gain attack based off, negates. So that was pretty good. It won me so many games, and it played really well at the time. Also, another card that plays really well at the time is Meteor Black Comet Dragon. It is a pretty solid card. If you are very low on life points or very low on time, this card can really save your ass. Continuing on. Also, going into time, we have 2 copies of Red-Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. It is a very amazing card, especially since you run a lot of rank 7s. This card can really help and get it out. A lot of level 7s. I remember a previous version of this deck that didn't have the Primite cards, ran just pure Kashtira Red-Eyes, which was good, but it really struggled on the crackback. I basically just ran, it was basically 3 of this pass, and then I was screwed after that. Another level 7, since you are running level 7s, is Dark Arm Dragon Annihilation. It's a target pop. We have Big Eye. Then we have Zeus for all your XCs. Then we have the Dragon Link. We have 1 copy of Radic Seals, 1 copy of Striker Dragon, 1 copy of SP Little Knight. And then for your Super Poly package, we have 1 copy of Starting Venom Fusion Dragon, 1 copy of Mud Dragon, 1 copy of Garura, and 1 copy of Predapant. This one, the big one. I don't remember its name. I cannot pronounce that name. Trifiovertum. Yeah. And then to finish off the extra deck, we have 1 copy of Typhon. This came up basically once, and it saved my ass. I think it's a pretty solid extra deck. You're mostly not really going into these monsters. You're really relying on your main deck to kind of cook for you. It's a solid extra. Like, I went into a play where I had to super poly my own monsters to get him out to swing over a monster, and then use him to make full metal, which worked, and it actually won me the duel. So it is a very solid extra deck list. I think it really helps with especially against a matchup like Yubel. I think would help. It would help it a lot, especially with the darks. But yeah, overall, I mostly went into him. You didn't really go into the extra deck unless you were going into him, or funny enough, him. These 2 were the main extra deck monsters I used. Never went into my rank 7s just because I didn't really have a choice to go into them. I might switch off 1 for High King Caesar just because I have multiple 6s in the deck, but overall, this was solid. You're good. Now, we're going to go into the side deck. For going second, I usually just cited out all of my Metalmorph stuff. So I had 2 copies of Red-Eyes Insight to guarantee the Red-Eyes Fusion, 1 copy of Primite Howl for going first, for guaranteed going first. Basically, Primite Howl is just like Primite Roar, but you don't pay life points because it is a trap. And if they activate an effect, let me see. During your opponent's turn, I can just banish this card and banish the card and snatch steal 1 of their monsters, which actually came into play really hilariously, and it worked out, and it won me the duel. We have 2 copies of Lightning Storm, just, for those back row heavy decks. 2 copies of Angel Blue Tears for going third for the, time. 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. 2 copies of Dark Blue No More. 2 copies of Evenly Matched. And then we have our other monsters for the Primite Engine shenanigans. I was thinking of the most used attributes right now in the meta, at least for my locals, are Dark, Fire, and Light. So I was thinking of other level 7 dragons. I got CRU, and 1 copy of Reran. Basically, these 2 cards are meant for the Primite Engine's banishing effect only, and they both came up and both cooked. I dueled Fire King Snake Eyes, and this guy saved my ass. Then I dueled Goblin Bikers, and this guy saved my ass. Overall, really, really solid side deck, I think. Didn't really go into Angel Blue Tears a lot often. Evenly came up once, and then Droplet saved my butt a lot, especially going second. Overall, yeah, that's the deck list. Let me know what you guys think. It went undefeated. Obviously, there are tweaks I can make, like upgrading the Bestial stuff, getting a little better extra deck. But overall, it did go undefeated. And, you know, even against a mirror, which wasn't full metal, it had full metal in it, but it was more of a Bestial stun. It did manage to overthrow that, especially, you know, when I also have Bestials. But overall, yeah, that is the deck. The 2 main boss monsters, funny enough, are right here. They really did put in work, these guys together, especially when these guys were together. They were unstoppable. The burn power and the negates, you know, I couldn't really find someone that could out the 2 of them together. Overall, yeah, that's the deck. I hope you guys enjoy. Subscribe and like for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. I might record duels. I might record other things. I'm also planning on playing other games as well other than Yu-Gi-Oh. But, you know, catch y'all later and have a wonderful day. Peace.